Time now for your forecast first. WRBL News 3 First Alert Weather.
And a good morning to you. Some light precipitation around our viewing area this morning to the north and off towards the west. Active weather with a line of showers and thunderstorms. And this storm has a history of tornadoes already. One reported, at least on Doppler radar, around Tupelo, Mississippi this morning. So it's rolling through the area. We'll keep an eye on this for the potential for severe weather and maybe some brief pop-up tornadoes in the region. So an active weather day for us. Around lunchtime, I think that's when we're going to see the impact for us. Showers, 75 or so for lunchtime. And on your ride home, cloudy, and things will be drying out a little bit, 69.
On your side, this is News 3 This Morning.
And a good morning to you. You're waking up to Tuesday, November 6th. Welcome to News 3 This Morning. I'm Tila Stahl.
And good morning to you. I'm Greg Lloyd. Let's take a look at the morning's top headlines. Here's your News 3 eye-opener.
Welcome to Midterm Election Day 2018. WRBL News 3 is your local election headquarters. We will have information throughout the day and results tonight as soon as they trickle in for those high-stake races that will determine the balance of political power in the nation's capital.
Our number one goal is to make sure that people have an opportunity and access to go out and vote.
Find out how some in our community are making sure you make it to the polls to cast your ballot.
Gubernatorial candidates in Georgia and Alabama made the most of the final hours on the campaign trail, stumping for last-minute votes.
They should just come and vote. We don't care who you vote for. We just want you to vote.
In addition to the candidates you'll be voting for, we'll take a look at amendments on the ballots in Georgia and in Alabama.
In other headlines, a late-night car crash kills 2 people in Columbus.
New this morning, find out what appears to be the recipe for economic success for one small local downtown area.
It's just kind of revitalized downtown and put us where we once were.
Meet a local man who's passionate about nurturing wildlife.
Charlotte we've had since the middle of July, so it's like sending a kid off to college, but you know they're not coming home.
And in your Consumer Watch, find out which economy airlines makes for the friendliest skies.
All that and more, but first, complete Election Day coverage starts now.
The midterm elections, they are upon us. At 7 Eastern and 7 Central, those polls will open in Georgia and Alabama, and voters can cast their ballots in what many political analysts say is an election for the record books.
In Georgia, there's nationwide attention on the race for governor between Republican Secretary of State Brian Kemp and Democrat Stacey Abrams, who's looking to become the first female African-American governor in U.S. history. There's also a third-party challenger in the race, Libertarian Ted Metz.
The race for lieutenant governor is also expected to be decided by a close margin as Democrat Sarah Riggs Amico takes on Republican Jeff Duncan.
There's 3 candidates in the race to fill Brian Kemp's position as Secretary of State. They are Republican Brad Raffensperger, Democrat John Barrow, and Libertarian Smythe Duval.
Also, another top race in the Peach State is the battle for Attorney General, where incumbent Attorney General Chris Carr takes on Democratic challenger Charlie Bailey.
The top statewide races in Alabama include a battle for governor, with current Governor Kay Ivey taking on Democratic challenger Walt Maddox.
And in the race for lieutenant governor of Alabama, Democratic Will Boyd and Republican Will Ainsworth are facing off in what the polls predict to be a very tight race there.
For Attorney General in Alabama, incumbent Steve Marshall is going against Joseph Siegelman, who is the son of former Alabama Governor Don Siegelman.
There's also a lot of big races, particularly East Alabama. There's a 3rd congressional district battle between Republican incumbent Mike Rogers and Democrat and former Miss America Mallory Hagan. And when those polls open this morning, we're less than an hour away here in Georgia. There are a few things to keep in mind to make sure that your voting experience goes as smoothly as possible.
News 3's Bria Berry is at one of those polling locations with more on what you can expect. Good morning, Bria.
Good morning, Taylor and Greg. Now, I am here at Winton United Methodist Church just off Winton Road. This is one of the many polling places voters can come and place their vote. Looks like a ghost town now, but things will change in the next hour or so. A few things to remember when you head down to the polling places to place your vote. Be sure to know where your polling location is. You can go to the website vote.org to look up your location. Remember, stay in line. If you are in line before 7 p.m., you will be allowed to vote even if lines are long. Polls are open from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening. If you encounter a problem while voting, be sure to report it at the phone number on your screen. And when reporting voting problems, be as detailed as possible. Include names of poll workers and the polling location. Just a quick reminder, you must have your ID and a voter identification card. Well, that's all we have here, folks. We're live this morning and on your side in Columbus. Bria Berry, WRBL News 3.
All right. Thank you so much, Bria, for that. And keep in mind, you are not allowed to wear anything in relation to a political candidate or party.
And we're on your side also this morning with information for people who may have problems getting to the polls today. Local organizations such as the Urban League and NAACP and a few local churches, they are teaming together to help Columbus voters.
They're calling the effort the Roll to the Polls and Rock the Vote campaign. News 3's Shakira Speaks has details.
Our number one goal is to make sure that people have an opportunity and access to go out and vote.
The Urban League is partnering with local organizations like the NAACP and a few local churches to help get folks to the polls. They're calling it Roll to the Polls and Rock the Vote campaign.
The Urban League will serve as the dispatch center for voters who may not have transportation or voters who just want to ride to the voting polls.
For these voters, many of them have just decided who to vote for after attending the last-minute rallies held by Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams. Political science professor Frederick Gordon says it could count.
Bottom line is that each candidate needs to get out their message. So galvanizing support at the last second really could make a difference. It could be the tipping point in the election.
So what is it about these last-second rallies that have candidates racing against the clock?
Well, it's two things. One thing is connecting with their base and determining how to get the vote out and certainly reinforcing that perspective. The second part is that if you keep making a message, then it potentially brings out new voters as well.
And Susan Cooper is trying to get max participation on Tuesday.
When we have a client to call in who needs a ride, we will check to see which precinct is closest to that church.
Cooper says the Urban League is a very diverse and nonpartisan organization and rides are open to everyone. In Columbus, Shakira Speaks, WRBL News 3.
Now, Cooper adds if you don't know which precinct is yours, they'll be glad to look it up for you. Phone lines open in just a few minutes, actually, at 6:30 this morning. They close at 6 tonight. That's to ensure that everyone gets a ride and makes it in line before those polls close. Now, if you or anyone else needs a ride, simply call 706-322-6840, and you can visit our website, WRBL.com, if you missed the number or need more information. Tila?
Republican Brian Kemp made a stop in Columbus yesterday to close out his campaign stops around the state. Kemp is flying around the Peach State in a last-minute push for votes. The Secretary of State says the Valley vote will be key in deciding the state's next governor.
But we are going to keep Georgia working, moving forward in the right direction, not taking it in the wrong direction. But we need your help and we need your support to get the vote out. We need a heavy turnout. So y'all join with us. Let's keep fighting.
Kemp attended a rally with President Trump on Sunday, calling this election a fight for our future and accusing his opponent Stacey Abrams of running a dishonest campaign.
Well, on the Democratic front, Stacey Abrams will be pushing for last-minute votes here in Columbus today. She'll be at the barber shop on Buena Vista Road at 11 this morning. Now, yesterday, Abrams said rival Brian Kemp is, quote, abusing his power, end quote, by calling for a last-minute investigation into the Georgia Democratic Party over what Kemp claims is an attempt to hack the state's voter registration system. A series of emails obtained by CNN indicates that rather than taking part in any alleged hack, Georgia Democrats had simply passed along information about security concerns from a voter to a private cybersecurity firm. That in turn was shared with Kemp's office. Abrams is insisting that Kemp has a conflict of interest serving as the overseer of an election in which he's also running.
It's a witch hunt that was created by someone who is abusing his power. Friday, Brian Kemp was notified that there was yet another flaw in the election security system. Twice before, he has accidentally released the information of 6 million Georgians. This was about to happen again. Instead of owning up to it, taking responsibility, and seeking a way to fix the flaw, he instead decided to blame Democrats because he does that.
Now, Kemp is defending the investigation, saying, quote, "I don't care how it looks. I'm doing my job," end quote.
In Georgia, 5 amendments and 2 referendums are on this year's ballot. Amendments 1 and 3 cover taxes, where the money goes, and how it's used. Amendment 2 asks you to weigh in on creating a new business court. Amendment 4 proposes established rights for crime victims, such as notification of court proceedings and receiving notices on the criminal's arrest or release dates. And finally, the 5th Amendment would allow areas with 2 school districts to let the larger call for a vote on a penny sales tax for education.
Go on the Secretary of State My Voter page and look at your sample ballot. That's specifically for you. Look at that and get an understanding of what it is that you're going to be voting about or who you're going to be voting for.
Voters will find copies of the amendments and referendums on the Georgia Secretary of State's website. A copy will also be posted at the polls.
We now head over the Chattahoochee River to Alabama as 2 candidates for the gubernatorial race fight for your votes. Republican incumbent Kay Ivey and Democratic challenger Walt Maddox hit major cities yesterday to get last-minute holdout votes on their side. Governor Ivey has run her campaign on experience and creating jobs, but she's also looking to make a push in the classroom. Maddox, meanwhile, focused on health care, and he's pushing for a lottery system for Alabama similar to Georgia's, as well as fixing what he says is a dark mark in Alabama politics.
Education and growing jobs and the economy and several other issues too. So yes, we will have some other policies coming forward after the election.
Can you name some of those?
Not today.
First is I'm going to expand Medicaid by executive order. Second, we're going to call a special session and we're going to pass the Alabama Education Lottery. And third, we're going to end the payment of former Governor Robert Bentley's legal bills.
Now, both candidates agree that this race has been clean and civil compared to those in other parts of the country.
Voters in Alabama will also be deciding several amendments. Amendment 1 adds language supporting 10 Commandment displays if they meet constitutional requirements on public property, including schools, while prohibiting the use of public funds in defense of the amendment. Statewide Amendment 2 would declare Alabama as a pro-life state, supporting the rights of unborn children, while adding Alabama does not protect or fund abortion rights. For now, the amendment will not impact a woman's right to an abortion. However, supporters say it would prepare Alabama if the U.S. Supreme Court, now dominated by conservative justices, overturns cases supporting abortion rights, such as Roe v. Wade. And a reminder to join News 3, your local election headquarters, tonight for our coverage of the midterm elections. We'll go over results from the top races in Georgia and in Alabama. A local political expert will join us in the studio to break down the races that affect the Valley the most. It's all on a special election edition of News 3 Night Watch. That's at 11 Eastern, 10 Central.
In a developing story that happened overnight that we're following this morning, the Muskogee County Coroner's Office confirms that 2 people are dead as a result of a crash on Victory Drive and Jackson Avenue just before 11 last night. The exact cause of that wreck is unknown, but what we do know is that it involved a semi-truck and at least 1 car. The identities of the victims are not yet released. Their bodies have been sent for an autopsy. There's no word this morning on any other injuries associated with that accident or how many occupants were in those vehicles. With the holidays approaching, you may be looking for your next flight.
A look at how airlines fared in customer service next in our Consumer Watch.